just as a heads up, if you can hear me.
I can hear you. I can hear you. How you doing?
Perfect. Doing good. Really excited for today.
Awesome, awesome. I'm excited for you. So I'll be, like I said, I'll definitely be on. I'm racing to get to my hotel right now. So don't mind.
No worries. No worries at all. I know Jasmine said she'll be joining and I guess being the one to give me like an intro. But other than that, I have a little bio about myself that I'll talk through in case she doesn't join. But I see some people in the waiting room, just about 3 people. But I'm happy to, again, to hold until at least the top of the hour and see if Jasmine joins us.
For
Oh, there she is. I'll let her in now.
Girl,
Hey, hey, happy Thursday.
Thursdays, I'm late.
No worries. We still have a minute. We have a couple people in the waiting room, but I figured I would wait till you were on and you let me know
Yes.
we're good to start letting people in, but otherwise I can do
Yeah.
it. Okay.
Yeah, we can start letting people in. Sorry, that's my fault. The pressure washer people were at my door.
No worries.
But yeah, you can start letting people in and then I'll kick it off and then hand it right over to you to do your thing.
I'll drive and I check the chat. I'm good at multitasking, so
Okay.
it's all
And we had about like 27 RCPs on Eventbrite, and then some of our members accepted the invite in WhatsApp. So I sent out a text blast just now and a reminder email with the Zoom information. So, and a reminder in WhatsApp. So should be getting some bodies coming on in.
wonderful. I will just keep letting people in right now.
Okay, perfect.
Welcome, welcome. Happy Thursday. Wonderful. We got some note takers. I love note takers. You're going to
Good
catch it on the
evening.
back end. Hi there. Hi, Rihanna. Wonderful. We're going to give everyone a couple more minutes, maybe like a minute or two to join, but I do hope you guys are hydrated, ready to learn, ready to interact and engage. We will just give it a couple more minutes.
Every time I have meetings like this, I'm always forget that I should have background music.
I didn't even think of that.
It's a little oomps oomps, you know?
You know, what's
Nothing
the
too
vibe?
crazy. Always.
That's funny.
Uh,
Yeah, how quickly I can open Spotify.
How's everybody doing today? It is Thursday of a short week. Does it feel like a short week? How are you guys feeling?
Not at all. It feels like it's been 8 days. I don't know about you.
It feels like a short week. It feels like it
It
went by
does.
quick for me.
Okay.
Yes, definitely. On Friday, so it's like it was short.
Yeah. Rashard said it feels like a short, long week. Oh, and Christina, you said long week?
Mm.
Long week. I'm counting down.
Yeah, I don't even know what my answer is, to be honest. You know, I'm just like flying by the seat of my pants.
And Haley, happy Friday Junior to you as well.
Thank you. I look forward to learning from you. Hey, Jasmine girl, love your braids.
Hey, thank you. They need a little refresh, so I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Hey, girl. I didn't need to open the chat all the way. Okay, I could see all the other chat stuff now. I just saw Haley's message. Okay. You want to give it just one more minute and then we can jump in, or you want to go ahead and start? Because I know I don't want to take I want you to,
We're good. Yeah, I think
have
we're
all your
good to get
time.
started. I want to use
Okay.
everybody's time wisely.
Okay. Cool beans. Well, guys, I'm not gonna do nothing long or big or short. Just really want to kind of open it up, but give Desiree the floor to make sure you guys get all the content actionable next steps and things to implement when it comes to building your brand and scaling your voice. For those that may be new to the conversation or new to the NSN arena, I'm Jasmine Garrett. So I am the president of National Sales Network South Florida, which is a national organization that has over 19 chapters throughout the US, as well as one in the United Kingdom. We are locally based in Fort Lauderdale area. For those that may not be local, I know we have these virtual calls. We may have a sprinkle of someone that's not in Florida. So we are kind of in between the West Palm, Miami, and Fort Lauderdale area. Just really here to empower diverse professionals in our area as well as throughout the nation. And then noting that, yes, it's a sales network, but everybody has to sell themselves. And so however we can help you all professionally be able to feel confident, show up well, and be able to make space in the rooms that you're in, that's what we're here to do. And so hopefully today's call gives you some firepower, really gives you some new ideas to really scale your voice, be able to help amplify your visibility. And so I'm super excited to introduce Desiree Whitehead, who is the CEO and founder of Howl Marketing. She is also one of our sponsors for the first half of this year. And so super happy to have her kind of give and share her knowledge as a marketer. She's helping expand other people's brands literally every day. So hoping the insight that she has today can help you expand your brand, whether that's within corporate, because you are your business, whether that's you're an entrepreneur or if you are an individual contributor. So I'll pass it over to Desiree so that y'all can get as much nuggets and good info as you can in the next hour.
Yes, yes. Hello and happy Thursday, happy Baby Friday, happy all the things. I am honored to be your MC of the night. I hope you guys, first and foremost, are hydrated and ready to have a good time. This is very much of, I don't do kind of your traditional type of just sit here and present. You will be active. So we're going to test the theory really quickly. For those of you that maybe haven't been well versed with Zoom, at the bottom of your screen, you should have a little bar that has reactions. So if you see that reactions button, please go ahead and give me any type of reaction. Give me a heart, give me a rocket ship. Let me know that you know how to use that bottom functionality. There we go. There we go. Loving this. See, hearts back to all of you as well. So throughout today, you will kind of have those cues to engage, but welcome to your masterclass. This is how to scale your voice and truly turn visibility into influence and access, which I think is so very important in this day and age. Whether you are trying to climb the corporate ladder, maybe you're already at the top of that corporate ladder and you can bring people up underneath you, okay? So let's jump straight into some agenda and then we'll go through some housekeeping. But I'm gonna talk about who I am in the business for 35 seconds, but then we're gonna get straight to the meat and potatoes. So we're talking about how to break down the corporate myth of you gotta work hard to play hard. We're gonna also talk about how to actually go from just being seen to gaining and being given access in corporate. I have created a framework, which is the DOPE framework. If you were at the Blueprint brunch back in February, you would have also heard some similarities, but I'm going to introduce that in a way that is applicable to you today and how you can take these nuggets away. Okay. And last, we'll wrap up with really how to navigate the rooms that you're in. Like to do housekeeping just so that we're all aligned. First and foremost, there's a chat function. So again, testing functionality. I know some people have gone ahead and dropped in the chat, but really quickly, tell me where you're from. Let's just get you active. Make sure that you keep that chat open. So that way, if you have questions, you can drop it in real time, right? If there's something on the screen that you have questions about, drop your question. Allow me to answer it in real time. We have Pines, whoop, whoop, by way of Memphis. Okay, all right, Jasmine, I see you. I'm in Fort Lauderdale. We got Miami in the building. Miramar's here. I love to see it. I love to see my people. And I'm also Florida born and raised. I am an architect. I like to say that I help people find their voice. That's really what I do. I've been doing this for 25 years. It is a labor of love. I help brands to not only find their voice, but figure out the best way to position themselves. That's if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a solopreneur, if you're in corporate, like Jasmine said, you are your brand. So how can you position yourself to be in a position of power, a position of leadership, or to just really get the most out of your job? Some street cred that I have, I've helped companies get valued at over $300 million. And again, that's just because I get to wake up every day and do what I love. I'm very much for the culture. I really have a passion to work with, sponsor, and inspire Black and Brown businesses. It is something that's been a passion of mine for as long as I can remember. And a little bit more meta. I still call them Facebook, but Meta has allowed me to teach and be a facilitator for them to teach people how to run ads. But a little bit more, this is who I've helped. So Meta, HubSpot, there's been some organizations. You guys might know Dollar Tree. If you've ever heard of Black Women Talk Tech, these are people who I have jumped in and helped to build their voice, build their brand, and get on the map. All right. All right. All that stuff's out the way. Oh, and one other thing that I kind of blew past, let me just make sure. This last item, if you see that icon in the top right-hand corner of any of our pages, that is going to be your indicator to take a screenshot. So if you have a Mac, that's Shift Command 4. I can't help you if you're on Windows. I've just been on Mac too long, but I have created pages that you can screenshot, save to your desktop, and come back to later. That way you can take action, do the homework assignments, or take a picture with your phone. We can go old school. I'm happy with that as well. All right, so jumping straight into our first section, we're going to go through and talk about breaking down these kind of corporate myths. All right, so too far. I have come up with this equation, and it's an equation that's out in the world, but it really talks about success and what success means. And a lot of people always ask me, how can I be successful? But I think in order to understand how to be successful, you have to understand what makes up success, especially in the corporate world. And it's a combination of performance, but also your image, how you show up every single day, not just how you look, how you sound, how you interact with people, how you make people feel, right? And then at that tail end is exposure. We're definitely going to break down what all of these mean, but for you to, let's just get a pulse check on the room. If you feel like in your job today, 90% of your time is spent with performance, give me a heart. Let me see how many of you feel like every day you eat, sleep, and breathe everything related to your performance. So you're doing the work, you're showing up, you're getting everything done. Okay. Okay. Now, how many of you are investing in your image? You feel like how you're presenting yourself, you're making sure that the rooms that you're in, not only are you dressed for success, but you're a part of conversations. How many of you feel like image is really where, okay, yep, Jasmine, I see that. Adobe, I get it. And then, okay, Brianna as well. Phenomenal. And exposure is usually the area where most people are unsure, right? They're not really sure if they're even in this realm. Exposure is you having access to the people in your organization that are the movers and shakers. Is there anyone on the call that feels like that is where they're also spending time? If you're going up for a promotion, exposure is probably a lot of your day-to-day, okay? But let's break what each of these mean down. Performance, I don't give a lot of credit to people for performance because this is what you're paid to do. Okay, this is why you have a job. This is your roles, your responsibilities. This is a non-negotiable. But when we think about your image, that is your professional brand. Like I said, this is how you're perceived when you walk in a room. But what a lot of people don't think about is social media. And the first thing that I do when I get a resume is Google your name with your location. If I have an email address, I'm adding that as well. I want to see how you're also showing up on LinkedIn. I'm also going to see if you have an Instagram or a Twitter. It's not so that I can judge, but it's so that if you're going to be a representative of my business, I need to make sure that you're showing up authentically. Okay. And exposure. This is where your relationships at work, in the community, how you're building with NSN, this is exposure. Okay, this is where you find the people that can advocate for you when you are not in the room. But there is a tax to that, right? We all pay taxes in some way, shape, or form. And so I know I grew up on the myth that if you do good work, right, you will be rewarded. But the reality of that is, no matter how good your work is, they're still going to expect more. You're still potentially going to be overlooked. And us as young Black professionals in corporate America, I myself, I think every promotion I was looked over. And it wasn't for lack of capability. It wasn't because I couldn't do the work. It was because they expected me to work harder, work faster, and produce more than everyone else in the room. But they also expected me to sit back and be silent while doing that. Okay. But the tax of that is that you usually are given more responsibility, but maybe you're not compensated for more responsibility. They say, okay, well, if Christina is able to do this and keep doing these reports, we don't have to pay her for it. Let's just keep giving her more and more work. But the truth, which is sometimes hard to understand if you're just heads down working every single day, is that in order to gain access to the life that you want, the career that you're trying to have, that next role in that job, you have to have relationships, because people in that organization are talking about you whether you want them to or not. So you want them speaking about you in a way that represents how you show up for that company or how you show up for yourself, right? If I have any entrepreneurs on the call. I personally climbed the corporate ladder once I figured out that it wasn't my manager that I needed to tell what impact I was having, right? It was the CEO of the company. It was his manager, his boss. And once I really understood that, I excelled up that corporate ladder like I was in, Ninja Warrior. But the formula, we talked about performance plus image plus exposure, but what people don't realize is look at the percentages on the screen. And if you had not seen these percentages, you might think that performance outweighs image and that maybe image exposure probably outweighs image. But if only 10% of your time is meant to be focused on performance, and again, that's because performance is what they pay you for, right? They pay you to come to work, they pay you to do a job. That's why you get a roles and responsibilities. But in order to scale your voice, to find your voice is a combination of your performance, but also that image that you are putting out and exuding. But what people don't realize is 90% of professionals spend 100% of their time on performance. So if all of your time is being spent on doing the work and you're not focused on coming up for air, being in the right rooms, having conversations, rubbing elbows with the executives, they only care 10% of the time about performance because it's an expectation. Okay, that's why I give you this formula to remind you that you need to shift your mindset on where you're spending time, where you're spending effort. And how you shift is an energy shift, right? It's shifting to exposure. So it's 3 buckets. Your performance, that's your foundation all day, every day. You're reliable because you do the work. That is going to get you in the room because they're going to start saying, okay, well, she does her work, she does it on time or early, he or she. But your image, that's your currency. This is how you can get a leg up over someone else that's also doing work, right? Your image is your voice. It's the way that you show up, the way that you communicate, the way that you compose yourself in a way that allows upper management and executives to see you, to hear you, but more importantly, to understand the value that you're actually bringing to that organization. And that third level of exposure, that's your leverage. So if you have apples to apples, because I know when I was in corporate, I mean, I was the best person in my role, but I still had people that were other managers, right? Other directors. And I had to figure out, how am I going to be seen differently than everybody else that turns in reports at the end of the month and everybody that sits in the same meeting the same annual report and meeting that we have with the executives. So what I started realizing is I need to speak up. I need to speak about how I am impacting this number. What uniqueness do I bring to the table? Okay. And I think a lot of times, a lot of us, we are scared to use our voice. And it's for a variety of reasons. And these are real things. These are invisible traps that we all fall into. And this is why they exist in the world. You have perfectionism, phobia, you're just a hard worker, or you prefer isolation. So as I explain what each of these are, I want you to drop in the chat the number that represents who you feel you are. I was a through and through perfectionist my entire life. I'm still working on that in therapy because perfectionism doesn't define me. But if you wait until you feel 100% before you're ready to speak up, like, oh no, I did the project, it's perfect, it's ready to go, but, and you always make excuses as to why you haven't done that next thing, perfectionism is your trap. But if you believe all I need to do is keep my head down, do the work, and get the metrics, but you never come up for air to build relationships, to talk about the work that you're doing, you're the hard worker, right? So that's a number 2. But if you have a phobia, and this is scientific, where you fear literally being promoted because you don't want to have to now manage people, right? You don't want to now have to answer to someone else. You don't want to have that voice or feel like it's performative. You like to take a back seat. That's promotion phobia, right? That's why it has a name. And 4 is this illusion of isolation. You just stay heads down. Maybe you jump on Zoom calls, but you're off camera. I'm not trying to read anybody, right? But instead of being in proximity with people and stepping into those conversations, you shy away from it, okay? And I see a combination of 2s and 3s and 1s, okay? And a combo of being a perfectionist, but also living in the illusion of isolation, that is a hard pill to swallow, right? And that means that you are struggling to have a voice, struggling to stay focused beyond execution. And it's not because you're doing anything wrong, but I need everyone to understand that visibility is not automatic, right? Influence is not automatic. Access absolutely is not automatic. And so these are little levers that have to be trained. You have to train yourself to break the fear of perfectionism and know that your 80% is probably better than 90% of people's 100%, right? Your hard work, it happens, the data's there. I'm going to train you how to change your mindset that if you're a numbers person and you're doing the work and you're seeing the value and you're responsible for the report, well, I'm going to teach you how to take that data and put it on LinkedIn, right? You're going to start using the work that you're doing, the success that you have in corporate to be your resume. That was probably one of the biggest mistakes that I made as I personally transitioned from corporate to being an entrepreneur. And I think I lean in on my integrity because I felt like, oh, I can't have these reports. I can't talk about the work that I did. And it's like, I was making people millions of dollars because of my strategies, right? I was finding gaps that I was filling. I helped them look at the way we were going to market differently. And in the beginning of corporate, I just provided the report. But 3 years in, Des was in meetings, running her own reports, right? And I started taking ownership and making sure that I had a voice and that someone else wasn't speaking on my behalf, okay? But these traps, you can shift your mindset so that you are getting closer and closer to having access, visibility. But in order to do that, you have to change where you are allocating your energy, okay? And a lot of people play in the passive playbook. You're dependable, but you're invisible, right? Maybe they know your name, or they probably don't know your name, but maybe they know your face. They know your work. But in order for you to get all the way to the bottom of being the executive and playing from the executive playbook, you can't change what you don't acknowledge, and you can't change what you don't understand. So We've talked about the equation of success equals 10% of professionalism, 30% of your image, and 60% of what was it? Visibility. Look, I just forgot my own stat. Fact checking of exposure. Okay. But performance is always there. It's your job. And once your execution becomes consistent for my perfectionists, right? For my hard workers, if your work is consistent day after day, month after month, year after year, I need you to realize that you got it. Like there's nothing else that you're going to be able to do to change the fact that you're great at your job. But once you've gotten that into a rhythm, your next level of growth comes from that's the next level of getting you seen, getting you to be trusted, allowing you to advocate for yourself. But once you have consistent execution, you start to speak up for yourself. Now other people will start speaking up for you and talk about, well, did you know, right? Did you know Joanne did this? And so in order to, again, make it all the way down to where you are a high level thinker, that's the executive playbook. You have created systems, repeatable processes, so that you don't always have to be head down doing the work. That way you free up your mental capacity so that you can actually focus on being more visible, building relationships, but more importantly, having influence in your job. So we've talked about potentially the traps of invisibility, where you might fall in that bucket, but how do you take being where you are today and turn this into getting access? You have to learn how to move from being seen to being trusted, right? Being referenced because of your trusted work, and then being invited into the room. I'm an executive. I was an executive for the last 17 years that I was in corporate, where I was managing teams from sizes of 20 up to 150. And the opportunities to pull someone up with me, to promote from within the organization, it didn't come from a job posting, right? And Jasmine, you can probably attest to this. Most executive opportunities, those promotions, they aren't online and being talked about. They're talked about in the rooms that you're not in. They're talked about over dinner between the CEOs. Okay. Doubling down. If you're not in the room, how do you ensure that you're part of the conversation? Okay. There's a corporate ladder, but there's also a ladder of power, of progression, and how you can excel from visibility to access. So if you're in the phase of you're visible, and this will be another drop it in the chat, give me a 1, 2, or 3. Do they know your name at your job, right? They know that you are responsible for X, Y, and Z. And if you pass by an executive, they know you. They maybe greet you by name, they give you a wave. Give me a 1. If you're past the point of being visible in your current role and you are actually influencing the bottom line, right? Your perspective is now respected. You lead meetings, you're on team calls, you manage other people, you help to shape decisions, conversations, or you have people that come to you for advice. You'll drop a number 2 because you're in that influence sector. But if you are the person that is giving and granting access to other people and inviting them into the room, you can drop a 3. That means you're an executive, right? So that's probably the Emmanuels of the room. That was myself. I'm a 3. And still to this day, even though I'm not in corporate, I am a connector. So I'm always trying to find ways to take this young individual that I met at a networking event and say, well, where are you trying to go in your career? I know of some people on this call that are transitioning industries. That's a hard thing to do, but not if you have access, not if you know people, not if you have influence and you've done the work. And I understand who you are, the work that you provide. I'm happy to bring your name into conversations. So this is a mental check. See where you're at today and understand that between visibility and access, you need to have influence. Influence is impact. Okay. I'm big on metaphors. So the architecture, right, of access. There are what I believe to be these 5 pillars. So you have, and this is whether you're building access for yourself, as I said, or if you're in the process of helping other people have access. Some of the people on this call, you're probably a mentor to other people. Some of you might be amplifiers, and some of you might be gatekeepers at your job where you are the person people come to for promotions. But the goal is to identify where you exist in your own ecosystem today so that you can pull on the other levers to help you excel in your career. Okay. And where you have a gap. So if you're a mentor, this is your senior leader, a manager, but you're a trusted advisor more than anything else. I'm a mentor. I have 12 people over the course of a year that I speak to every other month on a variety of days where they just bring me questions. They're trying to grow their marketing career, and I have my mentees graduate, right? Because mentorship isn't meant to be an ever-ending cycle. There's a goal. We have things that I make you do. I'm trying to hold you accountable that if you have a dream to be the director of marketing at your organization, well, what steps are you taking every single day to get you closer to that? And thank you, Haley. I'm seeing the comments now. I do appreciate you guys. All right. Oh, and that's great to see. So there, actually, I'm going to go back really quick. Apologies. There's a lot of you that are still sitting in the visibility phase, but there's a good number of you that are already influencing people. And I love to see that my influencers are also providing access. Okay, so if you dropped a number 1 that you are currently today still sitting in visibility, look and see who said they're a number 2, right? Look and see who is a number 3. This is about connecting. Where all of us are members of NSN. So these are people that if you're coming to the events every month, connect with us. If at the end of the day, I'm gonna have everybody drop their LinkedIn profile in here. The power of connection is, I think, such an underrated skill set. I'm quick to drop a LinkedIn link or show my Popple QR code so that I can connect with people. And Kendra is on the line. She is a master of connection. I mean, genuinely, she is the person that I've probably in the last 6 months has connected me with more people, than some people I've known for years. But that is the power of someone who has influence. That's the power of someone leveraging their access to help you have access. Okay. All right. This is great. Feeling really good. How are we feeling? You don't have to blush, Kendra. That was a compliment, I promise. Listen, you're an influencer and you give people access. No shame in that game. Okay, we're feeling good. So, as I said, we might have mentors on the call, but proximity is an underrated pillar that people don't really pull on. So this is, you are pulled into conversations, you sit on a board, you're in community, right? You build community, or you sit and talk on panels. That is someone who has proximity. And if you have proximity, it is your duty to help other people around you gain proximity to their goals if it benefits you both. And your network, right? That's you building. Everyone that's joined NSN, you guys are leveraging and pulling on the network pillar. This is making sure that you have a relationship with people, not just by industry, not just by skill set, but having a relationship before you ever need it, right? Before you ever have to say, I lost my job, right? And that's how many times, like I personally, I've had to leave corporate jobs in the past because I didn't get that not because I didn't get the promotion, but because I didn't get the guaranteed raise that we spoke about. And so those of y'all that know me, okay, if it comes to that time of year and every year for 3 years you gave me my raise, but that last year you say, we just don't have it. I'm respectful. I smile. I finish my performance review, right? And then I go home and I type a resignation letter. Now, I'm not telling you to do that, but what I am saying is I learned to respect my value. And when another organization that I'm spending millions of dollars in ads for tells me they can't afford a $5,000 raise, you have to know your worth, right? And at that time, I had to lean on my network and say, hey guys, I'm back in the market. And people would be, what do you mean? oh, it didn't work out, right? And a lot of times I got that next opportunity because of the people that I know. Amplifiers. This is again people don't talk about these different levers that you can pull, but these are people like Kendra, like Jasmine, like myself, right? Where we understand the value that you add. Maybe we work together. Maybe we sat together on a panel. Maybe I just really follow you on LinkedIn and I see you doing the work. I can help amplify the work that you do. I share your stories. Like, again, Kendra, you're just a great example. But if you follow Kendra online, how many times do you see her reposting an event, right? Or an organization or good work that someone's doing? Those are people that you want to be in proximity with. And gatekeepers. So this is a little bit more for while you're at work. This is the person that you absolutely need to make sure that they know your name, right? This is the person you say good morning to. This is the person that if they're sitting in on these meetings, you need to make sure they hear you when you speak. They get a copy of the report, right? Because those are the people that have silent visibility and authority in corporate. If there's a deciding factor between you and, Dominique, if you've been really kind, if you always say good morning, if you continue to show up and you're on time or you're early, those are the people that might be able to speak up and get you the promotion over someone else. Okay. And as Jasmine said in the chat, authenticity and sincerity play a huge part, remaining true to who you are, right? This is about scaling your voice. So knowing who you are and how you want to show up, not for anyone else, but how you want to show up for yourself is very important. And people absolutely can sniff BS, right? So if you aren't being true and authentic to who you are, it's going to become evident. Okay. This is a double-edged exercise. Now, because I had a lot of 1s and 2s and 3s, these are screenshotable. Okay, I'm going to quickly go through these, but what I want to explain is giving you a practical next step so that if you, for example, are seeking mentorship, I want you to take a screenshot and then later today or over the weekend or over the course of the next week, but you need to give yourself a deadline. I want you to literally write down 3 people in your network. So maybe you start with LinkedIn, maybe you start with people at your job, right? That you either like their career path, maybe you're trying to be an entrepreneur, maybe you're trying to be a manager, maybe you're trying to be a director. Talk to the director at your job. Or maybe you just like their leadership style. There's something about their team dynamic that is unique, that's not on your team, right? Anyone that you might admire. And then you need to reverse ask yourself these questions. Like, if I were to walk up to this person in my job and have a candid conversation, do they know that I have actually contributed to this organization? Like, full stop. Or would they just be like, hey, what do you do? Okay. But also think beyond surface level questions, because when I was in corporate, I always ended up having like 1 or 2 employees or coworkers that came up to me and asked me to be their mentor. And I would always, my first question when someone asks me to be their mentor, I say, what do you want to be mentored on? Right? If you don't have an answer to what you're trying to do, the next level that you're trying to ascend to, or why me, other than the other directors in this organization, if you don't have a differentiator, you're leaving a lot on the table, but you're also leaving room for them to say that they don't have time to mentor you. As a mentor, I love people who understand their purpose, know what they're trying to do, but they also understand how I can help them get there, right? As a mentor, I love people that are straight shooters, people that understand how I can add value to them, okay? And the action at the bottom is, once you understand those questions above, take one person, one of those people that you admire or that you appreciate their leadership style of, and ask them for 15 minutes of their time. I bet you they'll give it to you. And I also bet that you'll have an answer when they ask, well, what are you looking to be mentored about? And that's a little bit different than, of course, if you are a mentor. But if you are a mentor today and you have the capacity to mentor more people, think about who you could be guiding, right? Who could you be advocating for? Who could you be bringing into proximity so that they have opportunity? This is double-ended. We have people in all different roles on this call. So that's why I wanted to make sure you both have action of what you could do. And your action, your homework assignment, is to offer to mentor someone. I know that I try to mentor one new person a quarter because I have a revolving door. So I'm always having people being able to come back into the funnel. But mentorship is very important to me. Okay, but this is step and repeat. So for my amplifiers, my gatekeepers that are on the call, if you're seeking, right, to find someone who's an amplifier or to get in front of a gatekeeper, very similar. But writing down 3 people who are inside your organization who have influence, right? That doesn't mean that they're a manager, but it might be the executive assistant because she has the ear of the CEO. Okay, so think outside of the box, and it's very similar. Do they understand you? But how can you frame yourself to be able to be in front of them, okay, in a different way? And if you are the amplifier or the gatekeeper, audit yourself. Who are you consistently talking about at your job? But maybe you haven't done anything with that information. Has someone been excelling for the whole Q1 and Q2, right? Whose name keeps getting brought up in the rooms that you're in? And what doors have you opened for them? And if the answer is, oh, I'm too busy or I haven't had a chance to, I challenge you to advocate for someone next week. Choose one person that you think deserves to be acknowledged and be honored so that you are being part of the solution. Okay. And for people that are seeking network, right, and want more proximity, for you, it's very similar. But now I need you to change the way you're thinking. How can you gain access? It's in proximity to people that have access, in proximity to people that share your common values, your needs. Again, going back to therapy, for me, very important. My therapist told me that I needed to stop having and exerting energy with people that did not align with my values. Okay. And it's very easy to, in a few words and a bit of a conversation, to see if someone is trying to get something out of me or from me, or if they're trying to add value to me. Okay. So I challenge you, if you're seeking network, do your research. There's a lot of employee resource groups at organizations. There's also Black ERGs. And if there is a Black ERG at your company, that might be your entry point to having visibility, sharing your voice, and being able to start having influence in your organization. Okay. NSN, this is you being in proximity. This is you having access to a network, but how are you using your membership? Do you just come to one event once a quarter? Do you follow anyone on LinkedIn? Are you commenting on posts? Are you reading people's posts? I think it's funny when someone gives a post that I have that doesn't really require a like, or it's insightful, right? And I get a thumbs up. I'm like, okay, cool. You might not have actually read that, right? Think about that. If you post a sad picture, but somebody gives it a heart, it's like, well, damn, did you see read the message? Okay. So being intentional about the groups, the organizations, the communities that you allocate your time to, and then ask yourself, am I going in person? If they have virtual events, am I going to the virtual event? But also, what's your pitch, right? When you come into these rooms, how are you talking about yourself? How are you sharing what you're looking for? People will respect you and appreciate you coming directly at them and sharing what you're really here for, right? Like when I'm at an event, I tell people what I'm there for. Last week, her influence. I have been wanting to talk to Rhapsody. We have been 2 birds passing in the wind for probably the last 8 events that I've attended that she's been at, but I was very intentional about making sure that after her panel, we had a moment of time to talk and talk business. And it was great. And we had a great conversation today, right? But if I didn't go in with a game plan and then act on the game plan and use my voice to say, I'm Desiree Whitehead. She said, oh, girl, I know you. I know your name. I know your company. A lot of people have been bringing your name up lately. I was like, girl, stop. Really? I love that for me, right? But I was able to be authentic in why I was there and why I was having a conversation with her. But all of that wouldn't have been possible if I wasn't a sponsor of the National Sales Network, which gave me the opportunity to be in the room and have a table, getting to meet the chief of staff from FMU, Florida Memorial University, a university and institution that I've been trying to penetrate for 3 years, right? But because I was intentional, I wanted proximity, I wanted to be able to network, I chose a supportive Black organization in National Sales Network of South Florida. It has afforded me these types of opportunities. Mentorship is important to me. Teaching, I have a masterclass. Okay, so I am walking proof that if you do the work, you are intentional about it, that you will reap the benefits of that hard work. Okay, and then just rounding off that workshop of the architecture is if, again, you are the person that is a network builder like Kendra, okay? That's, again, like I'm asking you, who have you pulled up lately? Who have you introduced lately? Who have you done a joint text with and said, hey, you need to meet Emmanuel. Emmanuel has been doing X, Y, and Z, and I think that he would be great to introduce you to, okay? So do the work, make the introductions, but at its core, you have to be authentic with who you are and how you're trying to show up. But I think that also just comes down to truly claiming your internal authority, okay? The DOPE framework. The D is deciding who you are. It's easy to have imposter syndrome, right? I still to this day, as a 6-figure company, I've done corporate, I've made people millions of dollars, I still have imposter syndrome. But every single day, when I'm going into a new conversation, talking to a prospect, I undoubtedly walk in with my head held high because I decide who I'm going to be for that conversation while remaining true to who I am. I claim every lane of the road. If I'm there, you're not getting an opening, okay? And owning your story. That's about communicating your value at work, in personal life, advocating for yourself, okay? Protect your integrity, a word that is like a pillar of the foundation of my business. Integrity is what took me out of corporate America. Integrity is what makes me a successful business owner to this day, because I turn a lot of business away because I want to protect my sanity. I want to protect my integrity, but also because I want to align with like-minded individuals and business owners. So at work, right? Who were you aligned with? Who are you having conversations with? Who are you sitting with at lunch? Okay, are those people, I can't remember the quote exactly, but for me, I like to be in the room with people that are always above me. Because if I spend my whole time looking down, trying to always bring people up, who's bringing Des up? Okay, so you need people that are both ahead of where you are today in your circle, in your tribe, in your life. But you can also still have the people that have been riding along with you along the journey. But at the end of the day, you have to protect your integrity and be sure that when you are communicating your value, that you're doing it to show impact. Okay? A lot of people talk about what they do, and I'm like, but what does that mean? What I'm looking for is someone to tell me what's the heartbeat of the work that they do. Okay? And then embodying your vision. Commanding unapologetically your presence, but also being very strategic about how you use your vision to help you accomplish your goal. Let's break each of these down. Deciding who you are. This is, and we're trying to look at this from a corporate lens, but when you think about your voice, okay, and think about your next stage in your career, you have to be willing to become a thought leader. You have to be willing to be authoritative. You have to be willing to communicate the work that you do and how you drive impact and value. Are you someone who just builds spreadsheets all day? Or are you a person that took, 50 if you took 50 processes, 50 different reports that didn't make any sense, and you consolidated that all into one, Excel spreadsheet that uses formulas and it pulls from different sources of data, and now you changed and made the job more efficient for you, for your team, That is someone who knows who they are, who knows the value that they added to that process. And if I was a leader, a manager in the room with them, I would absolutely be like, oh, you saved us time and money, right? That's 10 out of 10 times going to go over a lot better if you're able, again, to communicate your value. Okay. And you also don't ever want to let someone else define who you are. Okay. And I think a lot of times in corporate, we get labeled and mislabeled, sometimes simply based off of the color of our skin or our sex, right? And you are as good as you think you are. You are as dope as you think you are. You are in that room, in that position, in that role because you earned it, right? You weren't given anything. And so I need you to own that every single day that you show up and say, yeah, I deserve to be here. And Lakeisha last week at the Her Influence event said, walk in that room like you owned it, like God sent you there, right? It was ordained. So decide who you are. Every day when you wake up, remind yourself. But you also need to own your story. And a lot of times people, it is your story. Like for me, it's the fact that I left corporate and, integrity caps were hit and I wanted to do more in the world. Sure. But in order for someone to choose to do business with me, I have to tell them how I'm going to make them money, right? I have to tell them how I'm going to get them more return on their investment. And so executives and CEOs are thinking, sorry, I'm reading the chat. This is phenomenal. But executives are thinking, what value do you bring my organization? So you use your voice to talk about the actions that you take every single day. What space are you taking up? Okay. And then the metrics, because the data is what's going to back up the actions. Because if all you do is stay heads down and work, but you never come up to report on the problem that you solved, what was unique about how you solved it. Okay. And listen, let AI help you. If you're unsure of how to communicate your value on that project, just talk to AI and explain what you did in grave detail and ask it to summarize that for an executive. And I bet you will be blown away. Okay. So utilize tools out there to help you better communicate what you need to do. And y'all are killing me. This is a little bit of tea time because I'm not trying to, I hope you all feel seen. I hope you all feel heard. I hope you feel understood, but I'm also trying to put you on game, right? Now that I'm not in corporate, I want to help you excel. I want to teach you the cheat codes. That's why I'm giving you the equations. So to round off this slide, business impact, right? Coins. How are you helping us save money? How are you helping to streamline processes? And at the end of the day, if you can communicate the tasks that you do, the metrics and the success, the growth month over month, year over year, the efficiencies that came from that, and the impact that that has, not just on yourself, on your team, on your department. And if you can go as well as the company, I promise you that your pipeline to visibility is there. Okay. Because the more, and you have to be consistent. That's the other thing that Lakeisha said, right? If you walk into a room and you're a little bit unsure, that's okay. Walk back in, show up the next week and the next week with your head held high. And I promise you, eventually your shoulders will relax. Okay. Like, I love to say that I don't like public speaking until I'm 51 minutes into a masterclass. And now I feel like I'm talking to my family. Okay. So you have to own your story strategically. I need you to realize that executives care, but they don't care about your work. They care about the impact that you have on their bottom line, because otherwise you are just a dollar sign and you are costing them money. So if you can show how that task, that report, right, or that operation that you created, that standard operating procedure. I love when someone brings me an SOP. Okay. If someone asks you to do the same thing 12 times, 11 times ago, I would have created an SOP, right? I would have downloaded, I forgot this. I will figure out what it is and share it with Jasmine so she can share it. But there is a literal website that you just do the tasks that you have to do, and it creates your SOP for you. It writes the words, it says click here, it inserts screenshots. That is a value add. And if you have to spend $9.99 so that you have it for 1 month, so that you can just show it to the company and say, I created 32 SOPs this month. No one has to recreate this. This would be this. I created a binder, give it some hole punches, slap a couple cover sheets on there, and now you've added value. Okay. Let's wrap up the dope framework. But before we do, you can pulse check yourself. Okay. This is another one for you to screenshot. The way that you can check the value that you add to a company is you have to identify a project, a task, something that you did in Q1, since Q2 isn't over, something that you did in the first quarter. Dig deep, ask your manager, okay? Cheat codes, ask your friends at work. Be like, what was your favorite project that I worked on and why? But then I need you to turn off thinking about all of the micro tasks that you did, right? That's corporate fluff. We don't care about that. And then I need you to think about the impact that that project, that spreadsheet, or that SOP, how did that impact the company? What were metrics? I need to see numbers, right? Was there lift? Was this the first time it was ever created? And then you could talk about your actions, okay? But if you're able to communicate that clearly, it will change the way that your team views you. It'll change the way that the executives at the company view you, and it will only make you better. I promise. Okay? Scribe. It is Scribe. Thank you, Kendra. It is Scribe. That is my favorite little hack for creating SOPs. Okay? All right. So rounding off dope is protecting your integrity, like I said. Leadership, I'm going to be real. Like I said, they care about the impact. But what does impact mean? It's R to the third degree. It's revenue, risk, and reputation. Okay? If you can communicate how you impacted revenue, how you reduced risk in some way, shape, or form, okay, that will build your reputation. And reputation will give you visibility, okay? Visibility with numbers, with impact tied to it, that is what will get you invited into the room. Because visibility without data is just noise, I promise. And that E. Look, I love that y'all are vibing in the chat, and I love that for y'all. It's so true. Jasmine said, oh no, Christina says, I have an executive summary that is a skeleton brag book. I love this. I'm using Copilot at work to track my wins, turn it into a brag book for review season. Come on now. That's the hack, right? Because they won't even have anything to say when all you talk about are those wins, right? Now that you're talking about impact and showing impact. And look, everybody wants to know if they can have a copy. So you might need to come up with a LinkedIn post for us and let us know a little bit more. We won't call it a brag book so that the company you work for doesn't know about it. But you might want to drop some gems because a couple of people definitely need to understand how they can also track their wins. Okay, but screenshots and ChatGPT will be your best friend. So honest with you. As long as you don't have any like disclosures where you're not allowed to take information out of your job. Sorry. Last, embody your vision, okay? Think about the next meeting that you're going into. And I want you to think about the first 15 minutes. That's the rule. Within 15 minutes, figure out how you're going to add value. Think about the meeting notes from last week, right? Review them. Is there something that you can point out from last week that you took action on? Something that you changed, something that, you created. That is what is going to stick with everyone before everybody starts getting tired and drowns out and stops and is no longer listening. But what people don't realize is you can also contribute by plus oneing on something that someone else says. The easiest way to not feel like you have to create something to share is if someone says something in real time that you support, right? Say that out loud. Show that you have an opinion. Use your voice so that people realize that you are in the room, okay? People know when I'm in the room. That's one thing, that's for sure. And 3, command the room. It's not about dominating the room, but it is about communicating, contributing, being intentional, but being clear, right? And timing. First 15 minutes. If you're going to add value, do it at the front, okay? Because you might make it into the meeting notes as well. Just to wrap us up here, navigating rooms. I'm giving you a quick snapshot of what you can do over the next 4 weeks, right? It starts with honing. That is defining what is unique to you. What about what you do at work is unique, adds value, and is high impact? Christina, comb through that brag book, find your biggest win, okay? And then drop that bad boy on LinkedIn. Why don't y'all let us celebrate you, right? Brag online, brag out loud, okay? A lot of people win in silence. I don't want that for y'all. If everybody on this call, I'm going to drop my LinkedIn in here, but if everybody on this call over the course of the next week drops one win, one thing you crushed at work, let us celebrate you. Let us uplift you, okay? 2, own. Find that meeting, contribute something, okay? Hell, communicate that win online, right? I'm trying to get you used to getting comfortable using your voice in different ways. I want you to use your voice in the room. I want you to use your voice online through words. Let us read, let us celebrate, okay? I want community to find you. The more you talk about the wins that you have, people are going to start to take notice, okay? 3, widen. Find people that you want to be in proximity with. Have a chat with them. If it's at work, if it's at NSN, if it's in the community, any other organization that you are a part of, I want you to have an intentional conversation with someone that is an ally to you outside of your department. Okay, because now honing, that's helping you get specific. That's helping you reach out and be digital. Owning, that's in person, in a meeting, whether it's virtual or in person. And then broadening your network, right? Inviting someone to a coffee chat. You can invite me to a coffee chat, okay? And 4, I need you to lead, document that win. Like we talked about, the homework assignment, right? Executive value and how they see value. And I want you to talk it through. I say all this to remind you of these 4 things. Your talent deserves visibility. Your ideas deserve strategic rooms to hear them, to let them grow legs and run wild. Your work deserves to be advocated for, not in silence, out loud, boldly. And your voice deserves to scale far beyond the walls of your head, right? Because we're all in our own head. I need you to realize that you do not need permission. This is not about giving permission. This is about you owning your dopeness, first and foremost, but claiming your authority. You are already in the room. I need you to own it, okay? And I'm going to pause because I'm definitely at the top of the hour. And if you would like to connect with me, bust out your phone. You can definitely scan these QR codes, but I'm on LinkedIn. I'll drop my LinkedIn URL here. But I just want to pause and see if anyone has any questions that I can answer live for you. And feel free to come off mute if you have a question. Let's talk it through. Okay, I guess I just gave you everything that you needed. Okay. Well, listen, this has been phenomenal. I really hope that each of you take with you what I've talked about, that you realize that you are as dope as you think you are. You are in that room because you deserve to be there, and talk about the things out loud. I pulled up LinkedIn and I'm just going to share it right here because I can't make this up. And a scheduled post, right, from my business's company page talks about the partnership that I have with NSN. I like to talk about the work that I do. This was very timely, right? So check out my website, connect with me, save my number, text me, call me, book a coffee chat. But I thank you all for your time today. And I really do hope you lean in a lot more than you maybe have lately. Your voice is your voice for a reason. So I thank you all for your time, your energy. Thank you, Haley. Let's make sure we're connected because you have me keying over here. No crumbs left. Thank you.
That's right. You did what needed to be done, Queen. I loved it. Every bit. I did just connect with you on LinkedIn.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. All right,
Well,
y'all.
thank you so much, Des. Amazing job. Thank you, everybody, for your engagement in the chat. If you do have any like residual questions, just let us know. We can get them to Desiree if you don't reach out to her directly, or for some reason wasn't able to catch her information. Please stay connected. But thank you, Des, for your time. Thank you for the nuggets. I think it takes us back to pie. Everybody used to say pie this, pie that back in the day. And some of those things get lost. And I think this was a great reimagined way to just get people to remember that, yes, it may be hard to talk about yourself. Some of us don't like to brag about ourselves or things of that nature. But at the end of the day, your exposure, your connections, your performance all put together is what really helps you catapult in your career or whatever your ambition is. So we really, really do appreciate you.
I appreciate y'all as well. Have a great Baby Friday, and I'll see y'all online.
Thanks,
Thank
girl.
you.
Have a
Bye,
good one,
everyone.
everybody. Thank you so much for joining.
Yes. Bye.